And
Hey, what's up, Facebook world? We are in Hot Thoughts Live. I've got my three friends, Evie, Mark, and Trista, and we are going to wait a little bit till we get kind of a critical mass. But while we wait, here's kind of what I would love to know. Like Evie, Mark, Trista, maybe Evie, we'll start with you. Like, what's going on in your life? Like, just this is not a loaded question, but like, what are some fun, interesting things you have happening in your life right now?
Yeah, I forgot to get my chicken ready while we were preparing, so now I'm trying to get it ready here on my plate. Fun things going on in my life. I've been home with my kids, my two small, very active boy children, for how many weeks? How many days? I don't know. So there's a lot of fun. We've been making our own fun. We're also preparing to move across the state. We're working on that, so that's a thing. Mostly in the purge phase right now, just getting rid of lots and lots of things. So that's not really fun, but it's what's going on. So.
Well, I would say that's exciting. Mel McCagney also wants to see you cry tonight, just like you cried last night. So,
I cry
hot wings.
Truly, I have big feelings.
Cry with the hot sauce. With the hot sauce.
Well, hey, also, if you're watching on the Hot Thoughts page, make sure that you set your settings so that we can see your name. There's kind of privacy settings there. You'll show up as Facebook user otherwise, but if you set the settings, we'll be able to see you. But Mark Sheets, what's going on in your life before we dive in? What's going on with you, brother?
I have just come to remember how much I don't like heat in general. I told my church stupidly that in solidarity for not being a worshiping person, I wouldn't cut my hair or shave my beard until we got back. And I feel like I'm about to die every time I go outside. So the only time that you should be sweating is if you're close to a pool or an ocean or a shower. And so that's what's new with me. I'm just trying to work through heat. And that's why I'll talk about this later, but that's why what the 2 of 3 of you are doing with sauces is just ludicrous, man.
Yeah.
I'm so nervous.
Yeah, it made me laugh. I thought, like, hearing you guys text, I was going to the beach. I'm coming live from Florida, which is better than St. Louis right now. But I was walking to the beach with my wife, and I was like, I'm dying right now because Evie and Trista are texting about how nervous they are right now about this. And I was like, this is going to be outstanding. This is going to be great. But Trista, we'll kick off in a second, but how are you doing? Like, just check in. What's going on?
Enjoying life. I'm kind of like Evie, 2 rambunctious boys who may run through the room while this is going on. They thought that this was going to be a competition to see how many wings we could all eat. So I had to explain that to them. But yeah, pastoring, mothering, running. I ran this morning because I'm not crazy, Mark. And it was hot enough this morning. So
yeah,
it's been fun.
Yeah, it's a weird, so it was like 97 the other day here in Florida, but like we're in Clearwater, which I've never been to, but I think it's on the west coast of Florida. It like feels like nothing like 97 degrees. It's so outstanding to like not have to feel that temperature. It's really wonderful.
It sounds really wonderful, Danny. I'm so happy that you are in a place that is so close to the ocean.
Why are you telling us this?
Well, I'll also caveat with I've been in church Zoom meetings about 60% of the time I've been here. So I've been quarantining for my kids and wife to be able to not have to be in our 1,200 square foot place in Webster and to get to have some feet on the sand a little bit. So, yeah.
Lovely. Sounds
good for you.
So sad.
I'm real sacrificial. So, well, hey, we're going to dive in here. And so, friends, you kind of know how this goes. We wait to gather, but for the uninitiated, what it looks like is this. So we go through 5 wings, 5 questions. And as the questions get hotter, so do the wings. And so we build up together. And the sauces are just one and the same. They're a little spicy, and we're excited to kind of see just where this goes. You want to see some karaoke skills that Evie has. That was one of the quotes that just got thrown out there. So, hey, here's the deal. Before we dive in, please like, comment, and share this. We want to know that you're here. We want to help spread the Hot Thoughts community. And if you're not a part of that, please join the Hot Thoughts community on Facebook. I've been so excited. We've like 350 people over the last 3 weeks. Now we're on 4. I started this as a dumb way to connect with people, and it's been fun to watch it grow. And so excited to get a part of that. And we're excited to announce next week. We have a cool week coming. So stick around till the end for that. But to start out, y'all, I mean, we're all pastors, right? That's kind of the thing we have in common. And so, Evie, we're going to start out with you. But before we do, let's introduce our sauce, and then I have a question for us, kind of in regards to being a pastor. And so, my first sauce is akamiso. Evie, what do you have for your first sauce?
Mine's just the classic. I went for like either what was in my pantry or what I could get cheap at Aldi or Schnucks. So I had Cholula in my pantry. So we're just going with the basic Cholula. I don't have wings though. I got the sauces, but neglected to get wings. So I have dino nuggets.
Dino nuggets. All right.
I think this is a
Triceratops.
Triceratops. It's
Yeah.
I also have
like
letters because I didn't have. So I think I have a letter D. I have a B. a J. So I'm going to start.
Spell your name.
Triceratops and Cholula is what we're going
for. Evie with dinos and Cholula in the first one. Trista, what are you working with?
I am actually supporting a local business not far from my house, Wings and More. And I actually asked them to help me build my flight. And this is why I'm so nervous because she said, just put your finger in it to test how hot it is. And just a finger in some of the later ones, I'm going to be dying. So I am starting with medium, which to me tastes like hot. And it's just a buffalo medium sauce.
All right. And Mark, you're going hard on these, right? What do you got going on, Mark?
Yeah, so I'm a wimp and I don't do heat of any nature, but I also have no palate for anything other than a very narrow lane. If it's not ketchup or marinara or extra mild salsa, I probably don't do it as a condiment. Or barbecue sauce. I could do barbecue sauce. So what I'm starting out with is a Heinz sweet and smoky barbecue sauce that if I put too much on, I have to drink water. I don't think it actually rates a Scoville, but to me, it's way over the top.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we dive in, I will say when I was talking to Mark about this on the phone, he called me and told me he had a moment of silence for extra mild paste picante, is what you said?
Paste comes out in lids, colored lids, and they used to have extra mild. It was the blue lid. And then they stopped carrying it because they couldn't get enough business for it. So I've been dying a slow death ever since.
Well, so hey, here's what we'll do. We'll have Evie take her first bite. Evie, when you're wrapping up, we'll have Trista take a bite and then Mark take a bite. So Mark, you'll wrap us up.
So it's kind of like the waterfall.
It's like a waterfall,
like
yeah. And so Evie, take your bite, and then as you kind of bite, I just want to know what's been your most embarrassing pastoral moment ever. So don't even don't mitigate it. Go through it. And I would say for me, as you kind of process your heat, mine was the first time I ever did communion. They just said, "Hey, Danny, you're a youth pastor, do this." They gave me a hard piece of bread. I broke it, and it all fell on the ground. And I had a front row full of Catholics visiting, and I watched them crap their pants. And it's been one of the worst. I still have nightmares about serving communion. But Evie, what was yours? What do you got?
Let's see. So I'm a type 3 Enneagram. So I detest embarrassment. So I forget, I block it. I don't
that should actually be a drinking moment. Like anytime any of us mentions the Enneagram or what number we are, take a drink.
Cheers. So I'm a 3. Cheers to that.
So I've blocked out most of my embarrassing moments. I would say it happens a lot. Like when I bring kids into worship, because I like to include them, but then they'll say things that I have to field.
Right.
So that happened with some frequency. One of the best was at a baptism. I invite them to share Bible stories about water and ways God worked through the water. And I get used to the ones that they usually bring up. But one time some kid threw out the Jonah story, which had never come up before. So as I was trying to figure out how to make sense out of the Jonah story and how it connects to baptism, I think I said something to the effect of the whale for Jonah was God's way of telling him he just needed to take a minute. And apparently that was funnier than I thought it was, because the congregation lost it. And then I heard about it for weeks that God told Jonah to take a minute and sit it out. So not super embarrassing, but fielding those kinds of questions was, it's always fun.
There's nothing like trying to take a question on the fly, right? Which is what Hot Thoughts is all about. So,
right.
Hey, Trista, what's yours? What's your embarrassing moment? So take your bite if you haven't already.
No, I already have. I've already broken the rules.
You're killing it. Keep going, Trista. What do you got?
All right. So mine actually, I was preemptively embarrassed because I knew this was going to happen. I love my children, but I know that they have limitations when they're interacting with each other. And so at our very first Christmas pageant at Redbridge, my current appointment, the director of the children's program put them together on the stage. And I said in rehearsal, I was like, this is not a good idea. This is not going to end well. And she was like, no, it's going to be fine. It's going to be perfect. Don't worry about it. So they make it through the first performance. And she actually said, she came up to me in between services and she's like, see, I told you they were great. It was wonderful. And I said, oh, no, we got another go at this. And sure enough, it started with a smack against the leg from one and a smack across the leg. And then pretty soon one of them was grabbing the neck of the other and trying to yank the microphone from his mouth. And so I'm sitting there as the mom/pastor going, what do I do? Do I tackle my kids while they're in front of the congregation? So I'm in the front row trying to get their eye contact, doing that very mom thing, no. And pretty soon we just had to usher them down the stairs. So yeah, that was mine. I mean, I have others. I have others, but I think one day in the future, after I've emotionally processed it fully, it'll make a really good Christmas Eve illustration about how the Christmas story is not perfect, but I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah. Well, hey, I think we all have embarrassing moments, and it's what we all have to navigate through. And so, Mark, what do you have? And also, what is your sauce, Mark?
It was Heinz sweet and smoky, but it tastes spicy to me, even though it doesn't say it on the label. And I'm trying to punish myself for not going with hot by absolutely dunking every nugget all the way under with a proclivity of sauce in order for you to feel like I'm in solidarity with y'all. So it's down the hatch and we'll work through it. I'm going to go Christmas like Trista did. There was a couple of years ago, I'm in a very laid back church, but on Easter and Christmas, I try to class it up a little bit. And I keep forgetting that Easter and Christmas are the services that have the most heat inside the room because there's the most people. I think I've covered that I don't like to be hot. And so I'm in a long sleeve shirt and a sport coat and a tie for Christmas. Christmas it gets to a part of the service where it's very quiet. And so we've got a stacked service. We have different services, but there's one that gets more people than the others because it's a better time, whatever. And it's the extra seats are put out kind of thing. And so it's just hot in there. And I've just gotten done introducing the generosity. We're going to pass the plates and we're going to feed people locally and blah, blah, blah. And I'm so hot that I'm having trouble focusing on what's happening. I feel like I'm getting lightheaded and I'm about to step down from the stage. And one of my feet clipped the back heel of my other foot. And I fell 5 steps down, but not on the steps, not just all the way down. And I landed on my knee, my right knee. And it this pain shot up my knee. It hurt so freaking bad. And there's 450, 500 people in the worship center and they're singing "Oh Holy Night," but it's just a soloist. So I can't be oh, Mother of God! And so I smack my knee and I'm and I crawl over to my chair and Janela is my wife is hysterically laughing, and people are looking at me, are you okay? I'm like, yep, I'm okay. Just pay attention. And then she doesn't say anything to me. I don't say anything to her. We're looking straight ahead. And after a while, the knee is just throbbing. And I'm asking myself, do I need to go like wrap this up or something? And so I turned to my wife and I said, it hurts so bad. And she looked back at me, and it was the point of the song where she just looked right back at me and she said, fall on your knees. And everybody started laughing because they had seen me fall. They knew that it hurt. They knew that I was sweating, and they just kind of laughed. So now every time, that was 2 Christmases ago, the past 2 Christmases, when we do that song, there's still a couple people that look over at me and go, kind of thing.
That's good. Well, I think like if being a pastor, and you guys are all more seasoned, polished, and professional
what are you saying here,
than I am.
I
But
don't like your tone.
well, you guys are. We have all you guys are in like top 50 churches in the Methodist Church as lead pastors. Soon to be Evie on the way.
I think he's
But
just calling us old.
I would say.
I think so.
I think he is too. I think really that's what he's laying down here. Thanks, Danny.
I mean, hey, we should move on to the next sauce, is what I'm thinking. And so,
Cool. Totally cool. More seasoned.
and so, speaking of seasoning, I've got the garlic reaper sauce. Evie, Trista, and Mark, what are you rocking on the second question?
So I've got, again, I went to Aldi for this one. It is Aldi's Berman's hot sauce original.
Ooh, that's a good one.
So I think it was maybe $1.29. So there we go.
Well, for those that don't know, it's about 400,000 or 400 Scoville units. I know that one.
What does that mean?
It's not very hot.
Oh, okay, good. That sounded high to me. I didn't know. Okay. Right.
Trista, what do you got?
It's not coming out.
I'm going with Wings and More's hot sauce. Karen Hayden called me out on Facebook and said that she wasn't tuning in unless I went hot. So, Karen, this is because of you. And if I die, you better say great things in my eulogy, even if they're not true.
All right.
Kind of like my bio.
Well, I would just call out real quick, Karen Hayden, we want to see you in the comments. I'll be very upset if I don't see you in the comments. And then Mark Sheets, you're going to start this question. And so what is your sauce? And then I'll throw you the question.
Okay. I have never eaten this before in my life, so I am very nervous. I have also never eaten the non-honey version in my life ever before. So I am going to try a honey mustard sauce. It looks like glue.
I dig
You
it.
didn't even try to hold it together. You just
I think it's so you take that bite, Mark Sheets, and I'll give you the question. The question is this, my dude. Have you ever misquoted a song, verse, or book? You're dying right now, as if it's the hottest sauce of all time. I'm going to take the question down so people can see you getting struck by the Holy Spirit. Yeah, there it is. So Mark, come back to earth. Have you ever misquoted a song, verse, or book repeatedly in public? If so, approximately how long, and how did you find out you were getting it wrong? That was disgusting for you.
Oh my God.
your eyes are watering.
So is the mustard like you just couldn't do there was
No mustard.
Yeah, it wasn't
But it's
spicy.
honey.
It was just, oh,
Gross.
I don't think it was. I think that's a misnomer.
I love
What-
honey mustard.
What have I misquoted? I can't even think. I can't even think now that.
This is going to be great, Danny.
Do you want to punt to Trista for the
Please,
first
good Lord.
answer?
Yes.
Trista, start us out.
Okay, so mine is going to show my age since Danny's already called me old. I'll just dive right in. So Beck's song, I did not ever know what he was saying when he was speaking in Spanish. So for years, I thought it was, so open the door. I'm a loser, baby. So why don't you kill me? It wasn't
What is
open
it?
the door. I don't know. It's Spanish. But I didn't find this out until Sean came into my life, and he is a huge Beck fan, and so he corrected me, and I forgot to take my bite. But the other thing, if you want to talk like serious, like Bible, like
Yeah.
I don't know if I've misquoted. I'm sure I've misquoted the Bible occasionally, but apparently one of my favorite phrases to say is one of my favorite verses of the Bible, and I say it all the time. So apparently I like all of them.
You like them
Here
all.
goes hot.
I love it. We got some Beck. We got a big Beck fan. Mark, we'll end with you then. Evie, what do you got?
Mine's, so, I mean, I grew up like the nerdy church kid. Mine's a hymn. It's an old hymn. I Will Sing of My Redeemer is the name of the hymn. And this was when I was a little kid. Like I was probably like 4 or 5.
There's the answer.
There you go.
That's the one. That's the one.
Soy unpaired. Is that how you paired a door? Pair.
Open the door. Is that what you said?
Open the door.
Open the door. Yeah, it worked.
Hold the door.
Oh, I didn't take my bite either. Why? We're just forgetting. We're forgetting.
We are bad. Danny.
Of my
You'll
400
never have us on
400
ever again.
Scovilles? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Scovids.
Scovid?
No, it's not the Scovilles. Evie, holler at us real quick.
Right, sorry. An old hymn called I Will Sing of My Redeemer. And in the chorus, it says, the line is, sing of my Redeemer. With his blood, he purchased me. On the cross, he sealed my pardon. But as a kid, I thought it was on the cross, he sealed my bottom. So
Oh, no. Why would he do that?
For a really long time. And my parents didn't correct me because like my mom and my grandmother thought it was hilarious because at whatever age I was at, I apparently was struggling with like some obstruction and constipation. And my grandmother at one point famously said, oh, after she heard me sing it, oh, maybe that's what's wrong. On the cross, he sealed my bottom. So there you go.
Can I add here, like this is not as funny as that, Evie, but as talk about like church, I was a church kid too. And I always thought that this little light of mine was hiding under a bush. Oh no, not bushel. You want to know how I figured out that was wrong? Quiz bowl in high school when they were like, this little light of mine tells you not to hide your light under this. And I was like,
A bush, oh no.
And I was like, bush. And they were like,
You got it wrong.
no.
Oh my gosh.
Well, Mark Sheets, hey, bring us home. You have any misquotes for us, Brother Bear?
I grew up in a liturgical church. I'm not sure what this is called, but there's a little ditty they would sing called Glory Be to the Father and to the Son and to the Holy Ghost. But I thought it was Glory Be to the Father and to the Son and to the whole East Coast. And so I always wondered why the Midwest got left out. And I actually asked that to my mom when I was like 6 or 7.
Whole East Coast.
East Coast to the West.
Yeah,
That's funny.
It's the Gloria Patri word, just so you know that.
Gloria Patri.
Yeah.
Gloria Patri.
To the whole East Coast.
That's funny. Well, hey, so this is I appreciate you guys sharing that, and so we'll transition this. So this is more of like a serious question.
Wait, no.
Go ahead.
You did not answer.
Oh, I don't. Well, I mean, as the host, you have the prerogative to not answer any questions. But
Bobby Brown.
I will say, I remember. Do you know how like people will like? This isn't a misquoted song or verse or anything, but I do have a family member that when people would, like you're like, I'm gonna give that person a piece of my mind. Like, you ever heard that like phrase? They were pretty convinced it was like, I'm going to give them a piece of my ass, and they would just scream that at people, just all the time. I'm going to give you a piece of my ass, and it's like, you might be. That's probably not right. That's probably not the right thing.
Is that a Portland thing?
I mean, it's a nowhere thing. It's never been a thing anywhere.
It's that one person's thing.
It was that one person's thing. So
they're hard.
So kind of transitioning. This is a so more of a serious question. And so like, I know in just the season that we've been in, right? So like with the death of George Floyd and like with protests, and even in the last, I mean, 5 to 10 years, like we've been in this really interesting season of, just like an awakening to racial justice and racial injustice. And I'm painfully aware that there's a group of white people, and so we can't like address the problems of racial justice or injustice. But what's interesting is like I was thinking about this. I was talking to my wife, like how do we just had this conversation at the pool, like how are we going to talk to our kids about like racial injustice? Like how are we going to talk about how that affects them? How do we navigate that? And so I would just be wondering for you guys, like how are you having conversations with your children about that? Like how are you guys navigating that? And so maybe Evie, just to like kind of start out with us, like how are you having those conversations?
Yeah.
Like what's that been like for you guys? Especially kind of in the light of where we're at, like what has that been like for you guys?
Yeah. And I think for sure, I mean, I think what you meant to say, as white people, we do need to address racial injustice. Like it's definitely part of our responsibility. Yeah. So, talking with all of us here on this call have 2 kids. 3 of us have 2 boys. Raising boys and to be men in this world is important. And how we do that, addressing it with our kids, we've always been really straightforward with our kids and not tried to be colorblind. That's obviously a thing of the past. And so, we as parents, especially when our kids are young, which I think, Mark, yours are the oldest of all of us, but especially when they're young, we're the ones that create their community right now. Like they don't create it yet. They don't get to make those choices. We do. So we're creating the environment, their community, and choosing the people that they see and the roles in which they see them, the books that they read, the TV shows that they watch, cartoons, all of that. So Scott and I have always tried to be intentional about that. And now more than ever, it's as these tragedies happen, these aren't the only times we should be talking about this. It should just be normal. We should always be exposing our children to diverse communities. So choosing the schools that they go to, choosing the sports leagues that they play in, the extracurricular activities, all of those kinds of things. Because I think it's not only important for children of color to see themselves represented in certain places. It is important. So books and TV shows and different roles in the community, but it's also important for white children to see that so that bias begins to go away. Like you have to see a world. We have to give them the world that we want them to grow into, I think.
Yeah. I saw a really interesting post today. Like someone posted, like reposted a Twitter that was like, just name every teacher you've ever had that wasn't white. And that just like, that was really like, that had never crossed my mind like that. Like, and I started to roll that back, like to think about like, that as it like constructs then like not just the friend groups we have, but like the people that are pouring into us and all of that, and which is kind of a product of where maybe we live or the community. But yeah, like just as you said that kind of popped into my mind. But Mark, I mean, yeah, Evie kind of said you have older kids, but you also have children that are navigating with the same stuff. Like, how are you guys having this conversation?
Can I ask first, not to be, are we supposed to?
Oh,
so we're gonna don't be legalistic, dog. So we're gonna go. We're gonna we're gonna have that wing on the next. We're gonna have 2 on the next question.
Oh boy,
got it. I was just saying that because I've never seen buffalo sauce before, and it's orange, and it doesn't seem like a color you should dip something in. And we're talking about color and race, so I was connecting the 2, but I will wait. It's so my kids are 13 and 9. My 13-year-old can't date till he's 16, but he's already had like 24 girlfriends since 5th grade. And they all last 3 or 4 weeks and that sort of thing. But he has already dated girls from different backgrounds. Not with any of our leading. That's just kind of been the choices that he's made. It's interesting because my wife is Venezuelan, and both my kids have Spanish names, and none of the three of us can speak Spanish. Only she can. My 9-year-old was talking to me today because my wife and I went down. Kansas City had a deal yesterday where the mayor and the KCPD and there's a like a justice and mercy center and some local clergy were trying to put together a peaceful, connected solidarity march of something or another. And so the kids asked if they could go, and I got advice from one of my friends who's an officer that it'd probably be best to keep them at home and all that. And so they wanted to see video when we got home, and they have heard the phrase "people of color" a lot in the last 2 weeks. So my 9-year-old said, "Hey, Dad, are you a person of color?" And I said, "No." And he said, "But you're white, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Isn't that a color?" And I'm like, "Well, for the way that it seems to be defined, that seems to be people who aren't white that they're talking about there, kind of give or take." And he said, "Is Mom a person of color?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Yeah, but she looks kind of white." Well, Janelle is darker than me, but what shade is she on the color wheel? And then he said, "Am I a person of color?" And I'm like, "I don't know." He said, "Because you're not and Mom is, and I'm half of each of you." And that's a 9-year-old. So it's really, the whole thing is really fascinating to me. The movies we watch and the music we listen to, and for me, it's not just race, it's orientation. It's any kind of difference that somebody has from what you either perceive to be the norm or that you try to organize your energy towards. So I just think as a white guy, I have to really be careful about the way I talk to white people, especially the people in my church, and try to help them help all of us kind of think outside the box. But most than anything, and even with my kids, I feel like it's important to listen.
Yeah.
My kids teach me a lot if I just stop talking. So I've been asking them some questions. They've been saying some pretty interesting things. And imagine a 9-year-old asking if he's a person of color when he's a mixed or biracial kid. And me not knowing the freaking answer, clearly I shouldn't be doing a lot of talking.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I appreciate that. Appreciate you sharing that. That's, I think, such an interesting insight to that, like something that, again, like unique to like me for sure. Like I don't have that at all. So, Trista, what has it been like for you? I mean, you're in Kansas City, but different kind of situation. So what do you got going on?
So
just for you in this conversation?
Yeah, it's kind of a combination of all of that. Being aware of my own limitations of what my skin color is, what the privilege I've grown up with. I grew up with an all-white hometown and really didn't experience diversity in any form really until I went to Mizzou. And so kind of what Evie said before is surrounding our kids with different influences so that they're able to see the world through different eyes. But then with what Mark said is absolutely true. My kids teach me so much on this topic because they are in a very diverse school district, which has been a beautiful thing. And they actually will talk about color of skin in terms of a little bit darker than me or a lot darker than me. That's kind of, they use a sliding scale, and it's a beautiful way that they recognize that there's a difference. In this specific instance, it's been difficult because they see people that have been harmed by the actions of, throughout, like you said, Danny, so many people, including Breonna Taylor. We often forget her in this mix, but so many people that have the same skin tone as their friends have been harmed, and that's been in the news lately. And we had tears about 2 nights ago because they said, why do people not love everybody? Why do people think that skin color makes us different? And they actually came at it in a proud mama moment. They came at it from a Christian perspective because they really were using the Christian understanding of loving all of God's people, of celebrating diversity and variety, of a beautiful interwoven community, right? And so I think this is a place where, as you acknowledge, Danny, it's hard to have the right words to say, and yet as white people, we need to speak to other white people and have honest conversations, and it will bring tears, just like it brought tears to my boys and confusion to my boys. And I think those tears are holy, and as long as those tears work towards justice, which is a part of our biblical understanding, they can be holy tears, right? I think can I go a little biblical for a second? This is a little, I took a little off road.
Please do.
I mean, you're a pastor, so it's, you know.
But I think for a long time, we in the church were afraid to talk about difficult topics. And so we avoided them. And we were afraid that if we said the wrong thing, we would scare someone off, or if we addressed the wrong thing, someone might not come back. And I think what's happened is we've lost the language of the Bible in many ways, that said that this is what God's heart and God's church is supposed to be about. And so I think it's time for us to reclaim those difficult conversations and lean into that difficulty, acknowledge that it's hard, but reclaim those words that are what God wants us to be about and what God wants us to do in the world.
Yeah, that's good. I feel like the it's such like it's an interesting concept, or like kind of competing things, right? Like we want the church to grow, we want the church to engage new people, but often we think that means that it like has to be at like the tension point. But like these conversations around race and anything that's like really tense, I mean, that's really where the fruit is. And that's where we see Jesus resting in a lot of the times too. Like he's diving into not the easy questions, but the hard questions. And that's like where, and often what I love is that he doesn't provide answers, right? Like Jesus asks questions and he's just like, well, I'll just let it sit out there and rest. And I'm going to like, let you guys kind of ponder on it. And so, so with that, as kind of the idea of question, actually, I want to know what questions you have for these three. It could be for me, but I would say these three are much more compelling than I am. And so my second sauce is finally hitting me. And so as we let some like questions pour, so as we let the questions pour in, take your first sauce, tell us what it is, bite it. We'll go Trista, Mark, and Evie. We'll let in, and then we'll dive into some of the user-generated questions. So, Trista, what do you got?
Okay, I am with spicy barbecue, and I confirmed with my server today, or the person that was helping me pick my flight, that the spicy barbecue is barbecue sauce that they add to their hot buffalo sauce. And so she said, I can't tell you how hot it is because it depends on who mixed it.
I think that's great. That's great. All right, Mark, what do you got while she takes that bite?
I think we should just stare at her awkwardly while she, like, just a moment of silence while she eats it. No, okay, sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
This is radioactive buffalo sauce. Mark, that's orange.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Don't throw up.
That actually is probably spicy for you.
He might be gone for a minute. Yeah, he's going to have to leave.
All right, Evie, what do you got? And then we're going to dive into a question after you take yours. What's yours?
I know. So, okay, so this is from Schnucks. Again, I chose my hot sauce the same way I choose my wine, which is if I like the bottle or the name or where it's from. So this is Lola's Fine Hot Sauce. It's called Trinidad Scorpion. So that was what caught my attention. I feel like that seems exciting. And it's going on the Pteranodon nugget. So
Lola's is a tasty brand.
I just dumped a whole bunch out though. So
all right. Well, hey, so as Evie takes her as Evie takes her bite, here's my question. And hey, Mark, even though you're about to throw up all over your webcam, how long have you been a pastor? We'll start with you. We'll go Mark, Trista, Evie. How long have you guys been pastors for? And I've been a pastor for 10 years, 5 years as a Methodist. So, Mark, what have you got?
I didn't know that.
When do we start counting?
Like
Like
that's always the hard part.
in seminary or like first full-time gig? What is it? What's that?
It's up to you. You have the freedom in Christ.
Oh.
I read that in the Bible once.
Okay. I guess if we go from first full-time gig, it is 16 years.
Whoa.
16 years. All right.
Is that
Look
for
at that.
real?
Can we beat 16? What do we got, Trista?
No. So my first time, I was commissioned in 12, so that was my first full-time pastorate. And so I'm
right.
still under. I'm less than you, Danny, so I'm not as seasoned as you are.
Well, yeah, all right. Well, fair enough. I don't count. All right, fair enough. All right, Evie, what do you got?
Yeah. You told me that one wasn't going to be that spicy. That one was a little hot. Let's see. I started serving churches as a pastor, an appointed pastor in 2009. So 11 years. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, Evie, we'll start with you because you just did this. What is your greatest in worship fear? I will tell you, I have the bladder I have such a weak bladder. I have to pee 9 times before I preach. I've like literally been up there and been like, I don't know front or back, but I got to get out there before this thing blows. And so it gets real touch or go for me near the end. So Evie, what's your biggest fear?
I know things about you. Like you've preached super sick and then had to like leave and go. I know this about you.
I preached one time after pooping my pants on the side of the road with no underpants because I couldn't make it back to the sanctuary. I couldn't make it back to the sanctuary without getting new underwear. That's a true story, and that's a real thing. So just little knows now. Evie, what's your biggest fear?
Are a really good thing. Robes can be a very good thing.
That's so funny.
It's not funny. It's disgusting. Oh my gosh. Okay. My worst.
Actually, it was my Facebook. That sermon was my Facebook profile picture for like 7 years.
Wow. Okay.
All right, continue. I'll stop interrupting.
Oh my
man.
gosh. How can we top that?
We can't. I do have. I have fears about like really dark and morbid things, but I won't go into those. But I think for us, so at the gathering, at the Clayton site, since I'm a site pastor, we often have sometimes a video venue. So Matt Miofsky will preach the sermon, but it's video, and then I do all the other things. So one of my greatest fears is that the video, like some major technological problem will happen, and the whole thing goes down, and I have to get up and say words. So that's like I can say words, but like to preach a sermon just on the fly that's not how I do it. And so that's my greatest fear. It's happened twice, but not when I was there. So somebody else had to do it, but I haven't. So that's one of my big fears.
Okay, Mark, what do you have? What's one of your biggest fears?
When I preach, I have a couple of notes on the side, but I kind of just start talking and let it roll. And so my brain is a very dysfunctional part of my body, and it gets by just long enough for stretches of time for folks to believe that I've entered adulthood and I can cope. But my greatest fear is that I'm going to get into the middle of a sermon and lose my place and not be able to find it. Because I don't have a safety net. So if I lose it, we're gone. But I only preach like 40 times a year. So it's not like it could happen all the time, you know.
Danny, the comments are just...
All right. Well, I would say just to...
No one's listening anymore. They're all obsessed over
this.
My favorite is the Annie face palm.
Yeah, sorry, Annie. Sorry.
I would say both do I carry 2 pairs, and don't be worried about me. I've worked on all that. I've persevered. I'm going to do great. But I also do carry a spare with me. So,
there's an old
Trista, what's your
So I have the ones that I like will own up to. Like, I'm like Mark. I am so worried that in the middle of a sermon, I'll just like lose my place. I do have a backup plan. I always have my an outline at least tucked into the back of my Bible, like with a road map. No, he should not be eating hot sauce. We could have a problem right now.
Let's all grab a wing real quick. I want to see Danny go downhill.
Dude, the comments are just blowing up. I didn't think that was going to take off quite as much.
Folks blowing up.
I'm
my
so
phone,
sorry, guys.
Phone. Oh, wait, that's appropriate. Didn't Kesha have an accident in a closet once?
Grab a wing. What are you eating, Danny? Give me some Scovilles. What do you got?
I've got the dingo, the Widowmaker. But Trista, have you finished your comment yet?
Oh no. So I would say that's my one that I normally tell people about. I would say that there was one year when I served Missouri UMC, beautiful church. So a lot of couples wanted to get married there. I had one summer that I had 12 weddings back to back to back. And I was so paranoid that I was going to say the wrong name. Like, I would constantly like relook at my notes. And I would say that still, like, saying the wrong name in a wedding or a funeral, or saying a word that might have a sexual connotation that I did not intend while preaching, those are my biggest fears. True.
Yeah.
Those are my true biggest fears, but I will usually only acknowledge the first one, that I'll get lost because I'm not
Ditto on all
preacher.
those. Yep.
I have the same, the wedding also. And like, particularly if the names are like, could go with either partner in the, like, that's where, like, I want to make sure I'm looking at the right person at the right time.
Like Jamie and Taylor.
Very well.
Taylor.
So yeah, it's that's a real thing.
I did have one groom. So one, I think we're also on the poop. I puked after one sermon out of the water, Danny. Like, I can't even. I was preaching for a friend once before I was a pastor.
This question is like the ultimate floater. Question is just a floater.
I was preaching when I was not a pastor yet. Like, I was in seminary, but not under appointment anywhere. And so I was hugely pregnant with Judah. And I'm in her pulpit. It's Meg Hageman. I don't know if Meg's watching, but I was substituting for Meg Hageman in her pulpit. And as I'm hugely pregnant up there preaching, Judah, the baby, the baby at the time, internal baby at the time, stepped on my bladder. And so, like, I had that moment, like, if anyone watching has ever been pregnant, you have that moment where they step on the bladder and you're like, am I going to be able to hold that in? And you're still trying to preach while, like, trying to make sure that you're holding it in. That was pretty bad, but it's still not as bad as pooping my pants.
You know, Danny, there's an old hymn.
I apologize.
What Jesus
for bringing it up. So here's the
what's the hymn called?
That's a fact. So here's the last
on the cross. He sealed my bottom. That was my hymn.
It comes full circle.
We've come full circle.
This is what we do. This is what we do.
The Lord ordained this.
I don't think that's true.
So the last user generated question before we go into our last one is Facebook users. I don't know who it's from. We got one more. So what's your favorite Bible verse? And you're going to start out first on this one. So what's your favorite Bible verse?
Who?
Who's on first?
Did he freeze?
What's on second?
Are we supposed to be eating wings right now or no?
Did you say brown pants?
Yeah, I'm back. What's your favorite Bible verse, Mark Sheath? What do you got?
Are we eating wings? I'm so confused. My favorite Bible verse is the entire
Yes,
book of
eat wings,
Philemon.
eat wings.
Okay. I got something that I've never heard of before. It's called sriracha.
Oh,
Sriracha, man.
hey, that's good. That's a good.
Oh
start.
no,
That is
you're gonna
actually-
hate that.
It looks like salsa.
Yeah, you might
This might
die.
get you. This might get you.
It's
It's
not
better
gonna be
than that
good. You're gonna hate it.
Yeah,
It's better than that radioactive stuff.
this is where it all ends, right here.
That
This
tastes
is
really
nice on
good.
you, Mark.
You'll hate it.
Oh my god, it's hot. Oh my god, it's hot. It's good though. It's good, but it's hot. It's hot. Oh my god. Oh my god. But it's so good.
What to do? Oh my gosh.
Okay. Favorite Bible verse is oh god, it's hot. Oh my god. What is happening?
All right, so we got Mark Sheets. If you already can hear me, you got Mark Sheets with the Book of Philemon. Evie, can you go? Are you good? What do you got?
Yeah. Okay.
Sauce in Bible verse.
So here's my sauce. This is from Mozambique. It's Mozambican peri peri sauce. Hot peri peri sauce. So I brought it back like a while ago. Mark, you okay? He's not okay.
I don't think so.
And I haven't had it before, but peri peri sauce is like notoriously spicy. So we'll see. It's kind of a creamy sauce though. So we'll see. And it's going on the. I think kids told me this is a Parasaurolophus. Parasaurolophus. I don't know. It's some
That
kind
looks
of.
like a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
No, it's got like the head. It's got the head thing here.
Parasaurolophus.
But his arms are short.
I know, but it's the fin on the. I don't.
Ah,
Anyway.
Cool.
So Mozambican hot peri peri sauce, and yeah. Oh, there. Yep. Okay. Okay. There it is. There it is. Woo. What's the question?
Favorite Bible verse.
Is it doing a question? Oh.
Favorite Bible verse.
Yeah. The last. It's not a verse. It's the story. The last chapter of John, where Jesus is making breakfast for his disciples on the beach, grilling
I
some
love
fish.
that.
Yeah.
It's such a Jesus thing, right? Like, you
Yeah.
want some fish?
Like, we need food.
Let's eat.
Cheers. I enjoy future stuff.
Well, so I have to ask because I'm not good at listening to instructions. Danny, am I on my last hot sauce or do I still have one more? I still have one more. Okay. Is this everything you hope for, Danny?
Your fifth hot
Everything
sauce.
you hope for.
You have your fifth hot sauce, so we have one more after this.
Oh, gosh.
I'm going mobile.
Mark, do you have any milk?
Does that help? I got an ice cube in my mouth right now.
Oh, no, that's not good. Don't. Nice is not helpful.
But it's cold.
Like milk or
Okay, so
vodka.
I just had
Thank
my
you.
honey hot. That was not bad. I actually like that. The barbecue was much worse because it started sweet and then got hot. Honey hot. Told you who it was from the very beginning. You trusted it. It was okay.
Yeah.
My favorite Bible verse continues to be Isaiah 58, 6 through 12, where it's an instruction through the prophet Isaiah to refocus on what's most important for God. And it talks everything from taking care of the homeless, feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, Mark, finding underwear for Danny after he poops his pants, didn't make it, but it might fit under the bigger category. Talks about stop shaming each other and live together in harmony. And so that is actually the Bible verse that I, when I'm feeling unmoored, like when things are confusing and weird and I'm not sure what's going on in my life, I keep coming back to that one. So, and I'm actually going to preach it in my church in a few weeks because it fits where we're going right now. So
I love that. Well, hey, I moved to so for those that didn't know this at the beginning, I am in Florida at a place with awful Wi-Fi, and so I'm bouncing around from place to place. And so I have no idea actually what Evie said for half of her answer and the first half of Tristan's answer. But we're back in this. And we're gonna move.
But you just said my Bible verse was great. So
Well, because everything you say is great, Kristen.
Liar.
And so we're
Dirty,
gonna
dirty
move.
liar.
We're gonna move to the last question, last hot sauce. I got the last dab Redux. This is 2 million Scoville units.
2 million.
And also, Evie, what I gave you is also 2 million.
Yeah, I know. You brought a vial by my house. You dropped off a vial on my front porch.
So she has the Constrictor, which is 2 million Scoville units. Trista, what do you have?
2 billion?
I have a
Million.
one that is entitled Screaming Hot. It's Wings and More's hottest hot sauce.
Okay.
Screaming
And
hot.
then, what do you have, Mark Sheets?
I first have to ask, is it okay if you get dizzy? Because that sriracha made me dizzy. Like I started to get like.
Do you have high blood pressure?
No.
Are
God,
you
that was
sure?
an existential crisis. I cannot stand more than anything else the idea of white sauce of any nature. So I have never had ranch in my life before. It's the
What?
one of this entire lineup that I have been so scared about
I love
because
that.
it just looks like vomit.
It is. It's not good.
It is the best. No, it's the best.
In theory,
all right.
this is a garden herb. It doesn't
why
look
not-
green to me.
Oh my.
So on this one, we'll all take a bite together, and then we'll start. Mark's done already. He smelled it. But we're gonna start with this one. Evie, take a bite. What lyric of a song have you consistently sung incorrectly?
Done this,
And then
man.
I know.
that
we
was
did
the
this.
question. Well, shoot! I don't have another question for you.
Is there another Facebook question that we did not get to?
Like, who organized this thing? I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Well, I'm the host, so I guess I did. I have a question. Here's
There are more
go.
questions. Okay. Sorry.
I got a great question. For you, Evie. Someone said I have a question. Last week, someone spoke about the church not as strong as it was since it began. How do you reach new people and reach out without giving up your biblical or moral standards? Evie, start us out with that one.
So I have to eat this and then answer that?
Did
You didn't wanna-
Matthew pose this question?
Evie, you didn't want to sing the song, so now you got this one.
Well, I mean, we did the song part. Okay.
Yeah.
So my other one was 400 Scovilles, and this is 2 million Scovilles. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there was somewhere in between with the last one.
This is a letter F chicken nugget, which might be appropriate here in just a moment. How much should I put on here? I'm
A
not
lot.
putting very much. I don't know. Okay.
Go full on.
Oh.
I'll let any of you answer this
Oh,
question
God.
first.
Oh god.
We can answer
Okay.
before we eat?
I might have to go. This is.
Evie, what do you got?
Oh gosh.
This one's real hot. If you can see I'm on my knees right now. The screen is on my knees and it's shaking because it's so hot.
Am I supposed to be eating the hottest one now? Or am I
Yeah.
supposed to wait till I answer?
Why did you give this to me, Danny?
So we all die at the same time?
Yeah.
It's constricting. It's like.
That's why they call it that.
I can't breathe.
So, Mark Sheets, you're processing ranch. How does the church grow without compromising who it is?
I was wondering if I could go back to the song lyrics one. That seems a little easier. I threw the ranch up, and now I'm doing an after chaser with some M&Ms. Is that legal?
Yeah. Everything's legal on Hot Dots.
So there
Evie,
is
are
a
you
song.
okay?
No.
Oh,
Oh god.
I thought you were acting, Evie.
No.
Danny, why did you do this to her?
My tongue is swelling up.
It's part of the shtick.
I don't think we can
Evie.
be friends anymore.
Evie, how about I make you laugh? Will that be better?
Try anything.
There's a song that came out in 1972. It's called Summer Breeze. Anybody ever heard of it?
Summer breeze.
Summer
makes me
breeze.
feel
Okay, so the lyric is Summer breeze makes me feel fine, blowing through the jasmine in my mind, which nobody knows what that means in and of itself. But when I was a kid, I used to sing, some of these makes me feel fine, pouring all the plasma out of my mind.
Plasma.
Jasmine, plasma, you can see how you get there. I was a TV guy.
I like that. That's good.
That's my answer to how the church can grow and reach new people. Evie is dying.
You want me to answer while Evie recovers? Evie,
Yeah.
please
Please,
recover.
Tristan, you get either question. You
It's
get either
getting
one.
worse. It's getting worse.
It's bad.
I feel as if I've already sang way more than I normally do in public. So, Glenn, we should have to. Absolutely. There's no insurance that I've been offered. I don't know.
Talk to
She said
Westpath about
get to
that. You'll figure it out.
Oh. Call Nate. Okay. So, can you put the question back up? How can we?
Oh yeah. Let me hop over real quick. Sorry. We had so which one do you want? Do you want the so the question was either not what question do you have? Sorry. What song lyrics have you sung incorrectly? Or the question was let me see if I can find this here. It was actually a comment from someone. How do you reach new people without compromising biblical or moral standards?
So I think we go back to the basics. Like the early church is where we need to get back to. Authentic community that's willing to be honest with our struggles, be honest with our doubts, be honest with our fears, support each other and love one another no matter what. I think we don't have to compromise. Sugar helps. I don't think we have to compromise at all. I think we have to go back to what Christ intended. In fact, can I geek out for a second, Mark?
Oh yeah, please do.
Mark, is it okay?
It's not my show, sister. Make it happen.
Man, but this is not going to be funny.
I'm just eating M&Ms. Do your thing.
Perfect. All right, I'm going to geek out. So Phyllis Tickle, she's now deceased, writes about how...
Wait, what's her last name?
Tickle. That's funny.
You guys.
You said I
this
wasn't
is by
gonna
far.
laugh.
No episode will top you guys.
A lady's name is Tickle, and Danny's got brown pants. I mean, this really is a good episode.
Appropriate show.
Mark, she's dead.
For our children watching.
I hope not. It's 9:02. Anyway, Phyllis Tickle talks about how the church is renewed every 500 years. And that renewal starts to happen before we realize that it's happening, right? Mm-hmm. And so the one that she refers back to is the Reformation, because she said that's the one that we all learned about in school. That was the appropriate one that we could all learn about. But that pattern continues every 500 years in her estimation. And so when she was still alive and talking about this intermingling of church and history, she said, we are on the cusp of another 500 years, that we have already started to see the new church being born that is more authentic, more stripped down, more at the heart of what Christ wanted us to be about. And I think right now, in this scary, confusing time, we're actually seeing the church being born anew, because we've had to get away of a lot of what we have done just kind of, I don't want to say on autopilot, but we've done because we've all heard the phrase, we do it because we've always done it. That's no longer true for these past few months. We're doing things that we've never done before. And I think this is an opportunity to live into those new threads and to take what we've learned from this period into the future as we're more real and honest with where we are as a church and as individual Christians. So I think the Spirit is doing a new thing. I think we just have to see it, perceive it, embrace it, and then live into it. So I think it can be exciting. All with tickles and brown pants.
Trista, that was really good. Evie, I would give you the chance just to respond. So the question essentially, like, how do you move forward in the new church, maintaining moral and biblical standards? But I would also shift the question a little bit. Like last week with our guests on, we talked about just the future of the church, innovation in the church. And so take it even that way. Like, how do you see, like, which I think is a lot of what Trista just said, like, how do we do kind of innovation, but also hold standard to what is quote unquote orthodox about what it means to be a follower of Jesus?
But before she answers, can we be honest that they were much more serious and like theologically grounded than we've been in this whole conversation?
Yeah, well, you got no. I wouldn't say maybe serious. I would not say theologically grounded. You guys are just as innovative and hard hitting as they are. So don't let those hard hitters to back you down.
That's great. Now I've forgotten your question.
The future of the church, Evie. How do you hold on to moral and biblical standards?
But you changed the question, and now I don't remember what you changed it to. Anyway, I think the story of God is always relevant, and I think what we're seeing in this day and age is just, I think, a real. Oh, Mark's gone. That's not great.
No,
great.
I took him out. His screen's empty.
I see. You bring up Phyllis Tickle, and he's like, I can't do this anymore.
He's out of here.
So, and I think people are always looking for a story, a narrative to align their lives to, right? And that's what we have. And so, in this period of time where our communities have been stripped away from us, at least physically and being present, I think more than ever, people realize how much we need one another and how much we need something bigger than just our own reason and our own ability to understand the world to hold on to. So I think our story holds. I think going back to the basics, I've been reminded recently with some ministry I've been doing here at the Gathering that things that I take for granted as being, well, I know these things because I've studied the Bible, went to seminary, women characters in the Bible, and just teaching those has been it's blown people's minds. They're like, oh my gosh, yes, I've always known this woman was in the Bible, but I didn't know all these things about her. So I think just going back and unpacking the story we have, that's compelling to people because it answers questions and it meets them where they are if we're faithful to that task. And I can't feel my tongue. So if you didn't understand any of that, I apologize.
It was beautiful. I mean, Walter Brueggemann, my favorite biblical scholar. I met him once and fangirled on him. Like, he talks about how we enter into God's ongoing love story with the world, right? Like, we're just entering into it as we're born. And that's a story that began with creation and continues today. And I think he talks about how the ongoing narrative of the Bible, but also the church, is that God creates us good. We fall short through sin. God redeems us and reminds us that we are good. And through forgiveness, we are received into that goodness, and the cycle continues. And I think that that's a cycle that even if you are a person that had never heard the biblical story before, you could embrace, right? That you are beloved just for who you are. And sometimes we're going to get it wrong. And when we do, there is something greater than us, bigger than us, to receive us through grace and love so that we can try again and try again and try again.
Except Mark.
But now I'm preaching.
I'm
preaching. So, well, it was the ranch. The ranch did him in.
Hey, I just ate a 2 million something, and I'm here.
Where did you get the ice cream bar?
Well, I'm at the church, and I just went digging in the church freezer, so it was in there. I don't know how old it is. I may be sick in another way later.
Danny, have you told your viewers that we are all very... Yeah.
Great, now Danny's gone. Trista, it's you and me, but we got this.
Yes, the women. Finally, we have our moment.
Shut this down. Yeah, we can all hear you, Danny. Everyone can hear you. Oh, no.
Great, perfect. All right, so here's the deal. I'm taking all these suckers off. Evie, you're back on. It's just you and me to close this thing out. So here's the deal, Evie. I want to invite everyone to join me back here next week for Hot Thoughts Volume 5. We're going to have, I think, an exciting conversation on race and the gospel, race and racism and what that looks like. Evie, Trista, Mark, and I talked about this. Trista, I'm going to bring you back on. But we talked about this, about how a group of white people probably shouldn't talk about racism, right? Like, we shouldn't talk about it, at least in terms of...
Yes, we should.
We need to.
We should, but we shouldn't be prescriptive, right? We shouldn't be
and we speak from a place
voices,
of privilege, right?
Yes.
Like, we don't experience
Right.
racism in our life, personally.
Right. And so next week, I'm excited to have on a group of friends of color just to talk about kind of their stories and all of this. And I appreciate Evie, Trista, Mark, wherever the hell Mark went. No one knows what happened to him. Your guys' perspective on
That's
all.
normal. Happens a lot.
Just disappears.
But next week,
We still
Hot
love
Thoughts,
him.
We do love him. We do love him. Next week, Hot Thoughts Volume 5. Race and the Gospel. I have a group of friends that I'm really excited. So it's Thursday, the 11th, that I'm excited. We would take that week off, but just with everything that's going on in the country, that we felt like it's been fun to build this community, to talk about something meaningful. And so we're going to actually talk next week about that. And so I'm really excited about that. Evie, Trista, Mark, we're just going to bring up Mark's blank screen. This is a shout out to him.
There he is!
Mark,
Yeah!
You made it just in time.
My wife came running in and she goes, "Where's Joaquin?" And I said, "I don't know." And so she thought that she couldn't find him anywhere. And so we just drove around the neighborhood real quick. And of course, found him, multiple blocks away. But he's 9 and we didn't know that. And it was beyond the boundary. And so that's, I'm now hot. Physically, in addition to having the sriracha make me hot inside the mouth. So it's wonderful. Thanks for keeping the show alive while I was gone, Danny.
Okay. Oh, you just drove around it.
Actually, Mark, I did take you off for a while, Mark. I took you off.
Oh my God.
Danny is regretting his life choices right now.
No, I appreciate the three of you being on with me, making this foursome. For those of you that don't know, this is our small group. This is our group of pastors that get to kind of like grow together and do life together. I'm just excited to do that. And so when this got started, I said I need to do this with them, and it was fun just to get a chance to spend time with you. And so what I usually end the show with is this: y'all get a chance to end kind of with your and what do you want to advocate for? What's like something you do? So Evie, like you have 15 seconds. What is your thing? What do you want to talk about?
I have no idea what you just asked. It was
You cut out so much.
I got to end this soon.
I know, but it was really choppy.
We don't know what you asked.
I think you're asking me like what I want to say to the world.
That's it. Say it, Evie. Say it.
No, I really don't. Try it one more time, like in a short sentence.
Evie, what's your final 15-second elevator pitch to the world?
Oh my God. Be kind to one another and love at your own expense with abandon.
I love that.
That was less than 15 seconds, so I couldn't have said more. Anyway.
All right, Trista, what do you got?
God loves you for who you are, and don't be afraid to share that love with others, because the world needs to know that they are loved by God as well, and it's only by God's love that we will be transformed.
All right, Mark, you get the final word. What do you got?
I would tell people this. I would say we're in a pretty crappy time, and there is stuff that's coming ahead that's still pretty crappy, and sometimes people can lose hope because of that. But I have found that if I put my faith in Jesus Christ, that I can say without flinching in the midst of the worst circumstance, personally or in culture, that the best is yet to come. And the day I stop believing that is the day that my life will be over.
Yeah,
Mark with
the best is yet to come.
We love you, Mark.
That's good. Well, hey, so I want to thank everyone. Why don't we all give a wave world? Thank you for joining us. And we'll do this again next week. And this was fun.
Not with us. You don't have to